Welcome to the Ambitious as Fuck podcast, where we have raw conversation about staying motivated and ambitious while facing real life challenges. Success doesn't just happen, you have to work hard, fall, and keep getting up regardless of the obstacles. If settling or giving up is not your style, stick around for this real ass conversation. My name is Priscilla, and I've always enjoyed helping and motivating others. While developing my own brand, I realized my passion for marketing and empowering others to keep pushing forward and manifesting their dreams. Thanks for tuning in. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Ambitious AF podcast. Today I have Robert Stewart here from Concord, California. He is the creator of the Afterburner series. And Robert, can you tell us a little bit about what this is?
Hi, good morning, everyone. As Priscilla said, my name is Robert Stewart. I'm a writer and a graphic designer here in Northern California. I'm originally from a small town just north of New Orleans. So I've been here in California for quite a while. And my background mostly comes from Diablo Valley College, so local as far as art training.
Nice.
And also the Academy of Art over in San Francisco. And just using all those skills that I learned, I created this science fiction graphic novel series called Afterburner. And it's kind of like the old Star Trek series. We've got 4 explorers traveling in this spaceship throughout the multiverse.
Awesome. Thank you, Robert. And for any of you who are wondering, well, what are you guys talking about? This is basically like an adult comic book series, if you want to sum it up in the easiest way possible. This episode is going to be on YouTube, so we will be showing some of the graphic novels here, just so you can see some of that beautiful detail. And for anyone who is not necessarily into this type of art, I will have to say this, that I wasn't either, but when I met Robert, I actually met him through Instagram, and I want to say it was through a local hashtag, but I was really curious to see, what is this Afterburner, because it just looks really, really cool. The design of it looks very classic. And so when I met him and he gave me some of his novels, I got into it, and I'm on let me see, number 6 here, The Stars Call Me Danger. I already read Downspill's Eternity's Cup, and that was very engaging. I'm not going to tell you what happens because I don't want to ruin it for you. But yeah, check this out on YouTube. And I'm so sorry, I have people cleaning the yard outside. So if you guys hear a bunch of noise, that's what it is. But Robert, so how did you besides obviously you went to school and everything, how did you decide that this was something that you were going to do?
I've been reading comics since I was old enough to start reading. That was my gateway into education as it is. And so I've always been an artist. I've always been drawing and things like that. So when you combine my just natural tendencies toward art, and then having comics as the medium that I kind of latched onto, for me, there was never any thought that that's not what I was going to do. It was just a matter of when. And as far as working with Afterburner itself, it's been a long process, probably at least 15 years or so, as far as building the characters and building that whole graphic novel environment.
Okay, and so like knowing that it took several years to put this together, yeah, that just goes to show how much detail is in it. And when you pick up one of these, I've mentioned before that when you could actually put this on your coffee table and this could be a piece for discussion. Like, that's how beautiful these are made. The feel of them are very sturdy. They don't feel like your typical, little newspaper comic book or something like that. So what are the challenges that you faced on putting these together?
Some of the challenges are, number one, translating the images and the ideas that I have in my head. Because, I grew up watching all these old film noir movies and science fiction movies, and trying to make a fusion of those two different genres and putting that onto the printed page. So that's kind of like from the creative side, that's been one of the biggest challenges. And I guess the other challenge from the development side is just putting everything together as far as I need to know the distribution. I need to go out and work with all the retailers, and then work with the printers, and then with the advertising. So it's wearing all of those hats. Those are the biggest challenges.
And as far as like right now, where can people find find these really awesome books?
Well, as far I try and use a two-step process there for folks. If they're in the local Bay Area, I'm in a lot of the local Bay Area comic shops, like Dr. Comics and Mr. Games over in Oakland, Flying Colors in Concord, Comics Experience in San Francisco. So you can find the book in local shops, but also I use Amazon. So I have an Amazon platform also for digital downloads. So if folks aren't in the Bay Area, they can also take a look at at the books on Amazon.
That's actually really good to know. Although I prefer these in physical format just because
Yes.
it's really nice, like I said. And it seems like you actually also have other merchandise that's available for the brand, right?
Exactly. I try to look at Afterburner as a full brand line. So it's comics, but it's also almost like an experience. So I have a women's activewear line that I developed to go along with the Afterburner graphic novel series. So I use the artwork from the graphic novel series, and I incorporate that into the design of, I've got like yoga pants and workout things, and or just stuff that you could wear casually.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out. And where can that be found?
And those sets are found on my website at afterburnercomics.com.
Okay, awesome. And so, Robert, as far as any upcoming goals that you have for Afterburner for the series?
Again, I try to take things in stages. So my present stage with Afterburner is building a strong local base with local, getting local fans, and I consider my fans my clients. So bringing in local
Yeah,
clients.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm very interactive with the folks that read and support the series. So my first step is building a strong local base, and from there, and I think I've accomplished that. And I'm also, so now my stage is building a stronger presence with my Amazon digital distribution. And from there, my ultimate goal is to take it to a international stage. So my biggest challenge now is the distribution from the international standpoint. And then final goal is like a Netflix or a HBO Max streaming type service to have a series there.
And after reading a couple of these issues, I could totally see this as an animated series, because as I'm like reading it, I'm trying to picture the voices and the action and the sounds when they shoot, someone, or
Right.
when they're arguing with each other, they're bickering. Like, I love it.
There's a lot of arguing.
Oh my goodness. That's really great. So in order to get this going, because you did say it's a lot of work, how do you stay motivated to keep doing this?
My biggest motivation is that I enjoy the storytelling process. When growing up, I really didn't have babysitters or anything like that. My parents worked. So I watched a lot of old movies. So I really learned to enjoy that whole storytelling process. And so that's what motivates me, is getting those stories that I've got, percolating in my brain, getting those on the printed page and sharing them with folks.
Yeah.
That's my motivation.
That's awesome. I mean, and it's just amazing to be able to see, because I feel the same, like um since I do writing as well, and
Yeah,
I turn people's stories into, or whatever they have in their head, I turn it into stories for them. So when you
right.
actually see it, and people can read it and enjoy it, it's really fun. So I can only imagine all that work you put in, and seeing that finished product and seeing it in people's hands. So I can That's really awesome, and I commend you for that. And I honestly, I did want to point out the fact that one of the things that really got me curious about you was the fact that
Yeah,
you are a Black comic book creator. Like, that's, you don't hear that very often. So I do
right.
want to highlight that, that interests me as well. How has that like been something that you felt was either a challenge or a motivating factor? Like, does that do anything for you at all?
Well, it's definitely a motivating factor in that it allows me to take those traditional genres that we see, in my case, the science fiction genre, and put a protagonist or a lead hero in that lead role that looks like me,
Yeah.
and and obviously looks like a lot of other people also, but put someone like that in that leadership position or in that hero position, and not make them the comic foil.
Yeah.
um, and so to me, that's a big part of how what I do to create Afterburner, is just to give a whole range of folks the idea that they can be the hero too.
That's awesome. I think that's super motivating. And that's what I love. I just love sharing stories where it's like, it's not necessarily, someone who just had everything handed to them and they made something happen. That we hear that all the time. It's more like we start from the bottom, and then we build something up until we keep going and setting new goals and whatnot. So I found that extremely motivating, and I thought that you were very interesting. And even to this day, when you told me that you're the one posting everything and you're the one creating everything and editing, how do you do all this stuff? How long does this really take you to do?
It's, I tell folks I am 24/7, 24/7. um, and a lot of it comes from, again, it's not so much what I do, it's more so what I am.
Mhm.
So I'm just emoting
Yeah, yeah,
these things that I'm normally thinking about. And it's really been, kind of a blessing for me, especially like the social media thing, the social media aspect, and just this whole modern world that we're in now, where
yeah.
if you're a creator and you have ideas, you don't have to wait for Random House
That's so
or
true.
Penguin Press to pick up your idea and publish it. Amazon lets you publish your ideas.
That's awesome.
Uh, yeah, so I'm really enjoying this digital age.
Wow, I didn't, I hadn't even thought about that. You're right, because you used to have to wait for a publisher or someone to say, "Oh
Yeah,
yeah, that's a great idea." Now you just put it out there, and anyone can see it. You don't have to wait for anything. That's a really good point.
yeah, exactly.
And so, how did you, what? So you said that you created the story basically because you put people, you want to see people like yourself in it, right? And
Right.
to me, it reminds me of kind of like the way that it looks like a pulp fiction type of thing, but like you
Yeah.
said, kind of like Star Trek with the adventures, and kind of like Archer because they're always fighting and arguing. So there's like a whole combination. How did that concept develop in your mind?
I take what I see around me,
Mhm.
and I just turn the volume up a little bit. So
Got
a lot of what happens within the story within the story context, as far as the characters, those are kind of fusions of people that I've met in my life.
Oh, wow.
And 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 just there's a bit of bickering going on,
Uh-huh.
among the teammates, but anyone that's worked in a work environment, you understand, you love your coworkers. Your coworkers are kind of like your second cousin
Like your
or something
second
like that,
family, yeah.
right? But you still bicker.
Yeah.
You have these little bickering things going on, but at the end of the day, despite whatever the bickering that's going on, everyone comes together to get the job done.
Right.
So that's what I saw in the workplace. And I'm not sure if I mentioned earlier, I was in the military before.
No, you didn't mention that. Okay.
Yeah, so I was in the military before, and that was one of the things that really stuck with me about the military experience was that you had these individuals that worked together and side by side, and so it was kind of like a family environment. But there was a lot of bickering going on. But again, like I said, at the end of the day, whatever the disagreements were going on, that didn't matter. Everyone came together to get the job done, and that's what I try to put forth in the Afterburner series.
Well, I recommend this to everyone. Seriously, this was kind of like a little escape for me. Sometimes when I lay down, I hardly find time to just enjoy myself and relax because I'm usually working and I truly actually really enjoy it. But when I'm finally like, oh, okay, I got to shut my computer off because my eyes are just done. And the other day, I actually tried to curl up with one of these, and I was like, I passed out, but I was so looking forward to it. But I was so tired that day that I fell asleep with it on me. And my husband's like, hey, honey, go to bed. But I find it, this little escape from reality. And I'm not big on watching TV so much. So like being able to read it and see all the illustrations and everything is just like this little getaway. And I really appreciate it. So I'm really glad that I met you because I would never have paid attention to something like this. This is definitely not for children. It's for adults, guys. So it's not for your kids. It's for you. It's fun. And it's like a little getaway, like I said. And well, Robert, if you were to do anything over again, would you do anything differently?
I don't think so, because I was very careful going into it because again, this is something that I've always had an interest in.
Yeah.
And I'm really big on asking questions. So when I really started my process, I made sure that I went into the comic shops and I talked to the retailers, I talked to other comic professionals. And that's one thing I really would like to add is that um, despite everything else or anything else that's going on, this the comic community has been very embracing of me. And so that's been a big help. That's probably been my biggest help is talking to the professionals, folks that have established comic artists or comic writers. And everyone's been very opening about giving me information. And I've tried to pass that on. So if anyone out there has any questions about how to get started or gear or anything like that, I'm more than happy to help out and answer.
So glad that you said that because I do want to ask you. So for any of our listeners, let's just say there's someone who wants to start a book or a comic or something in this, creative space. What is like one of the main things that you would recommend for them?
Number one, and it may be a little tedious to read, but there's a book called The Hero with a Thousand Faces. It's by a gentleman named Joseph Campbell, and this is a book that all of your big Hollywood directors like Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, when you see movies like Star Wars or even something from Pixar like Up or what was that, an Ant story, all of those stories that you see come from something called the hero's journey. And that hero's journey is what is being talked about in the book called A Hero with a Thousand Faces. So number one, that's the book that I recommend.
That's great. I love giving great reads for people. So check out that book, you guys. All right, Robert. Well, this is really cool. This is really fun. I actually got the opportunity to go meet Robert. He's just got this really cool, calm personality. Like you just want to be friends with him. So I highly recommend you guys check out his Instagram. Can you tell us what's your handle?
My Instagram is Afterburner Comics.
Afterburner. So simple, right?
Yeah.
And then the website is afterburnercomics.com.
And the website is afterburnercomics.com.
Okay, perfect. And I have one more question for you, and I didn't ask you this before, but I would say that you're ambitious. You saw
Yes.
something, you made it happen. What does ambition mean to you? Because everyone has their own personal definition of that.
To me, ambition means doing things even when you're afraid, and um, yeah, doing things even when you're afraid to do it. That, and there's also a phrase that I've heard before: being comfortable, get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Hmm.
Because when you do things that you're afraid of, or that you have reservations about doing, and you're not really sure, you're going to be a little uncomfortable. The main thing is getting comfortable with that uncomfortability,
Yeah, and
and
that's not
still,
easy.
exactly, and
Yeah.
still moving forward ahead, because you have to keep moving.
Yep. Yep. That's awesome, Robert. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your story. I hope that our listeners will check out your stuff, even on Amazon, or if they can they buy a physical version on Amazon as well, or is it just the digital?
Yes, there are some copies. I do have some copies set up so that they can get the physical versions, but I need to get the rest of them set
No
up
worries. It's all a work in progress. But you guys, again,
exactly.
check out Robert Stewart with Afterburner. He just gave us the website and the handle. That's the best place to find him. We're going to check out some of that merchandise as well and represent. And we look forward to hearing more from you later on when you've hit some of those other goals, Robert.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me on the show.
Have a great day, everyone.
For daily tips and motivation, follow me on Instagram at AmbitiousAF Copywriting.